Okay. So thank you, Dr. Clement. Really appreciate you joining us. We'd like to ask you a few things from AJSM. So why did you perform this study on Achilles tendonitis and peritonitis?
Well, it was in the early days of the running revolution that sort of evolved in the mid-portion of the last century. And so running injuries at that stage were relatively rare in the, shall we say, written material, either in a journal or textbook. These things were still evolving at that time, and so it was a very topical thing and a thing that was very important to runners and obviously fit into the area of sports medicine.
Great. So what would you say is the biggest impact your paper has made in the field of sports medicine?
Well, I think the most significant thing is bringing attention to the evolution of what sports medicine is and what its actual direction is. Some of the issues, of course, at the beginning of sports medicine, this was often limited to areas that were pertinent to orthopedic surgery. Operations and surgical interventions were the thing that attracted, if you will, the greatest attention. I think we introduced the idea that many of the areas that we now see in modern sports medicine being non-operative, non-surgical, and needed some attention in regards to how to manage, how to use it, particularly exercise and modified weight training to retrain tissue. I think that might be one of the earliest ideas that if you trained injured tissue, you could bring it back to close to normal strength.
That's great. So with all you know now, what would you do differently, or what would you do if you knew what you knew now back then?
Well, that's a very tough question. What I would love to have seen earlier, of course, are the modern interventions in regards to diagnostic imaging in particular. I think the area that has evolved when I started in medical practice back in 1960, the only imaging tool was the X-ray. And as we know now, this is a very crude intervention in regards to looking at soft tissue injuries. And if I had any wish then, it would be that we had modern imaging back then.
Very true. It keeps changing. So now, what suggestions would you have for new authors from your experience as being the most highly cited author in 1984? Well,
I think it obviously has to do with the state of the art at that time. I think the idea of looking for things that are common to many others who work in the same field. I think that the new interventions, as we see them today, still have to be on the cutting edge, where the knowledge about them is yet to be determined, and it's very difficult to anticipate where the new knowledge is going to actually be as we evolve. But I mean, quite clearly, we're looking at a stage where if I was young and just starting at this point, I would be trying to look at the intervention of the genome in what we now see as exercise-induced problems. I don't think all exercise-induced problems are, in fact, exercise-induced. They may be occurring in an individual who has a propensity, perhaps genetic, towards certain disorders. And this makes them more evident because they're exercising. So it's that area that my curiosity is piqued at this point.
Great. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us and the readers of AJSM. We look forward to enjoying your article for many years to come.
Well, thank you so much, and we look forward to reading about it.